again, it's time to leave the no-win zone.
Because it creates so that you're fighting on your own terms. Like, if you were gonna compete with Tiger Woods and anything, you don't want to compete with them like playing golf or banging waitresses in the Midwest.
Welcome to the Serious Tryhard podcast, given to us by the only guy trying to make us better, Sean Patchett.
Well, let's just be honest. If you can't win within the first 3 turns, what the hell are you doing?
The only guy trying to get us from try hard to try harder.
I just like to slap it down on the table, look into my friend's eyes, and be like, get ready. This is gonna sting a bit.
And here's your host, still dripping from his swim in the knowledge pool, Sean Patchett.
Okay, now it's time for the psychic battle. Listen now as one of our guests engages in verbal karate with our master Sean, and let's see what happens.
Good evening, guys and gals. Welcome to another episode of the Serious Tryhard podcast. Today with me on the show, I do have a guest. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself to the community that probably already knows who you are?
Well, considering that I write for Commander Cast and I'm also the writer and co-producer of Top and Go Productions, I tend to get around the EDH community, no pun intended. But yeah, I pretty much I play EDH. I'm not as competitive as Sean, but I'm not super casual either. I try to hit the sweet spot in the middle.
Okay. And we'll give some contact information for the end. I do have to point out that you are part of the best YouTube channel out there. As much as I like the guys from CMDR Decks, that is also a good YouTube channel. Top and Go Productions is the best, and you guys need to go take a look at it. Very watchable, which is the most important thing when it comes to the YouTube channel there, is most of the YouTube stuff for Commander is very dry, very slow. The pace of the videos on Top and Go Productions is amazing. The quality of editing and all that kind of stuff is great. If you're going to go watch things with Commander in them, it's better than the streams. It's better than anything else, especially for gameplay. It just blows it out of the water. So enough stroking your ego over there. We'll get to the topic at hand today.
I was going to say, you just keep it up, keep it up. I'll put you on speaker. Karsten can listen to you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, as you said, you may not be the most competitive player in comparison, but we won't be talking about that today. We're going to talk about something that, as I mentioned to you before the cast, most people in the community, they talk about one side of it, but don't talk to the other one. And I think that's mostly to keep up the hipster attitudes that some people have, and that's talking about pimping your deck or just making it all foily and cool and different and awesome. And there are a lot of people who do this. Foiling's probably the most popular way to do it. There are plenty of other things. But one of the things the community shares it does is they like to show you their new deck or their cards or how awesome or expensive they are, and then they don't tell you where they got them from because they don't want to give up the little secrets, and I don't think that's fair. So I think today we'll go over where exactly we get stuff from. So if we're going to that, what's your favorite way to pimp out a deck yourself?
They're normally overdone, but I like foils, although if I had the money, I'd probably get more of my cards altered. I think alters end up being more unique unless you find like a Japanese foil of something. English foils end up being a little overdone, and it just gets kind of obnoxious sometimes.
Yeah, well, the obnoxious thing goes for Japanese foils, too. I have had people mention that several times, that I guess after you've seen enough of them, you get a little tired of them. I don't, personally, obviously, but I have had comments, so I guess it's somewhat important to know that when you do this, you'll get some hate on you. But so for English foils, for you, as the first thing, where's your favorite place to go? Do you go eBay, Star City? Do you just trade for them? How do you prefer to go get them?
They're normally hard to find for trade, especially at my store. The best place to find foils, I think, is either on eBay or at events, because normally the vendor, especially Grand Prix, the vendors at Grand Prix will have a lot. They drag out all of their most unique foils, and they have to have competitive pricing to compete with all the other vendors there. So that's good. But eBay's also good. If you have a little bit of patience, you can get a pretty good deal on some of them.
Okay. Now, I mean, personally, I actually do like Star City for this. Star City's prices on foils are a lot better than their prices on regular cards. I think they've been getting better with their regular card pricing, but their foil pricing has actually been pretty close to eBay a lot of the time. And they've got a lot of selection. And if you're actually buying a bulk of foils, I've found they're very good to go to. If you're really price watching, I don't know if you've used TCG Player's search recently or their mass order, where you can type in a whole list and have them add it to your order all at once. Have you looked at that at all?
I've used their card optimizer quite a bit. I noticed that that's pretty handy with getting a good combination of prices, but I haven't actually done the mass order. I just always put them in one by one.
Yeah, you can actually take a list from Cockatrice if you have your list on there because you were testing it or whatever, and load it in all at once, just so like a copy and paste, and it'll load it through, and then you run the optimizer through that. And when you run the optimizer, you can make sure everything is near mint foils when you do it. Mm-hmm. So you don't get any foreign foils with it. When it comes to just foiling out something all at once, obviously this is for somebody who's not really bargain hunting. It'll generally give you a better price than Star Cities, not by much, probably about a 5-10% discount. But it's definitely worth having. Those guys have been working a lot over the past year or so to improve that optimizer and improve that functionality. They actually have contacted a couple of the people who use their stuff a lot to get feedback on it. And it's appreciated. It's a really good service. So those two are probably the ones I go to for vendors. As you said, eBay is really good for English foils. Now, for alters, what do you normally do for alters? Do you have a local person you go to? Obviously, you tried to go through me once, and I'm too lazy to actually do alters, so that didn't work out.
Well, I know several great artists, and I keep trying to talk them into altering cards, and they won't do it. The alterer that I've gone through the most is Card Kitty. I really like a lot of their stuff. I want some Sandraline alters, but the issue of shipping cards to France and stuff, I just have been too lazy to get around to it.
Yeah, well, I have to talk about my Sandraline altar because I have one from her. I have a Mox Jet that she did. So that's like the prize piece of my collection right now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I traded for it at Worlds 2 years ago, which was a weird trade too, and it was kind of beat. So I got it at a discount. I think I got it at like $180. And then I was like, well, there's not many cards I would pay to ship to get altered, but I shipped it to her to have her altered, and that was the first time I'd ever commissioned somebody else to do an alter for me. Since obviously I've done a few myself, but I don't trust myself to touch something like that. That's huge. And the reason why I trusted her to do it is because she did a set for what's his name? Chaz Andres? I always pronounce his name wrong, which is bad because he's a cool guy. She did a whole set of the Power 9 for him that was themed on the planets in the universe. So each planet was a different piece of power. It was really awesome. And got the contact information from him and was able to send it over there. And she does amazing quality work. Aside from the shipping, her rates are great. I was
going to say, she, as far as alterers go, she is one of the best. Some of her work, you see it. I follow her page on Facebook because I just like looking at her alters because some of them are just breathtaking.
Absolutely. And one of the guys I think he's a nice guy, and I understand why people like his alters, but I wouldn't personally use his Klug. I know he's the most popular, and he's obviously very talented. I just don't particularly like the carbon transfer style he uses to alter things. It comes off a little cartoony for me, which is what some people want. Obviously, people like what he does, but also his prices are. I can't afford any of those. I can't pay 3 times the card's worth to get it altered. I understand that with his notoriety, it's gonna probably still be worth it if that's what you're into, but a little hard for me to pull the trigger on that kind of thing. So.
Oh yeah, I mean he does great stuff, but I mean even your average alterer, unless you're just some poor college student paying them or something like that. I mean, an alter you're gonna pay a decent chunk of change for it, but for some cards it's cheaper than the foil because apparently foil Kozileks are $80.
Really?
I heard this. I was watching the Magic show a while ago, and they said something about that. So I'm like, screw that. I'm never getting a foil Kozilek for my Azusa. Better get an alter.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to go for it. I didn't even realize they jumped up that high. I try not to follow them too close because I'll be more tempted to sell some cards. And so we can give specifics to our viewers. When you say altars don't cost too much, about how much do you generally pay for an altar? You don't have to give the names of who you paid, but about how much would you pay for an altar?
I paid about 20 or 30 for, I think, a borderless sort of light and shadow. The most I paid for an altar is I paid about 135 for a route, but I'm actually looking for the picture right now to show you. I got it altered to be the Ewoks celebrating as the Death Star explodes in the sky. So it was a lot more complicated piece of artwork, and so that ran a little bit higher. But yeah, most altars you can get a good borderless altar. Correct me if I'm wrong. For somewhere from like 25 to 40, depending on the artist.
Yeah, I would say 25 to 40 for a borderless. Sometimes you can get cheaper if you're doing an in-border thing, like just a quick image on it. Like for any of the ones you've seen that have like the TIE fighters on it and things like that, those can run you 10, 15. But in general, yeah, anywhere from 25 to $40 is about what I've seen people paying and charging. And to be honest, that's still way cheap for how long it takes to do those altars. For somebody who's done altars myself, it generally takes more than, the 2 hours or 3 hours it would take to make it worth like a regular day job to do. They take a long time to do a quality altar. Some people have gotten a lot better at it. I haven't. I haven't put in the time to do it. But you're getting your money's worth when you get an altar. I'll have to say that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Another thing I really like is artist altars. I mean, a lot of times the artists won't put as much work into it because, I mean, you're at an event and they've got 20,000 other people going, mark my cardboard up. I've got I've got a Steve Argyle altered my Glissa promo to be Glissa riding a magic carpet because, I'm shamelessly girly that way. But, and then I've got a Russian bloodghast that darkened. All he did was just took a pen and kind of extended the red blood on bloodghast, but just having the Russian card and with that, and having the artist alter stuff like that, it's not really quite as pimp. It's not like a foil or a really professional looking altar, but it's still really nice. It's still, because it's a little more unique a lot of times, especially if the artists take a little bit of time with what they're doing.
I mean, even if they don't, and even if it's not an artist, if it's somebody really famous in the Magic community, I've got a Survival of the Fittest that was altered by Richard Garfield, and I can't get rid of it. I think it's awesome. Like, and it's not even like a great altar. It's basically just like he altered the club to be a little bigger, and the guy standing on top is going grrr, and I'm like, all right, but it's Richard Garfield. Come on, what are you gonna do? So
Yeah, you can't get rid of that. That's ridiculous.
yeah, those things are cool.
I'm still trying to find my card kitty altar before I forget to send it to you.
Yeah, well, we'll get it in there. We'll get it in the notes. That does remind me. The other form of pimp we hadn't mentioned yet was signed cards. I used to care a lot about this. I've been caring less and less about it. I really like to meet the artists. I think they're cool people for the most part. I think it's great they put their time out there to sign the cards and meet with the community. But I think now I've seen so many signed cards that it just lost its effect. Where now I'm like, yeah, it's signed. So unless you have like a specific package of cards that are signed, like for a while I had 20 Rob Alexander mountains with identical pictures that were all signed that I'd use in red decks together, and I thought that was kind of cool. But even now, I think it's lost its edge over a while. And as pimp factor goes, though, if you are trying to pimp on a budget, signing and artist altars don't normally cost anything, so that's helpful.
Oh yeah, I mean, to me, unless you stood there and talked, met the artist yourself and got it signed, or like a friend got it signed for you, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, you bought it from someone else that got it signed. Who cares? But like all my planes and my 8.5 tails are all edition John Avon, and I got him to sign every one of them. And he actually wrote "what the fuck" on one of my planes because I asked him to draw a monster above the two people on the planes, and he drew something funny, and then he wrote "what the fuck" on it. So I have planes that if I'm playing and there's children around, I can't tutor for it because there's an obscenity on my planes.
John Avon. He's a good guy too. He's another one of those artists that's really nice to everyone who meets him, and the guy who represents him online is also cool. You can get the artist proofs from him pretty easily without paying, out the ass for it. So that's nice. So yeah, so there's the signing is also a good way to go. Artist proofs are one that I would personally, I would tell people to go get. They're very rarely used. You can only really play them in Commander. So it's kind of an awesome thing to collect when you know it's going to be different from what a lot of people have. The only downside is you would have to take them out of the sleeve to show people that they were artist proof. So unless you're playing clear sleeves, it's probably the harder way to go. And now getting kind of into the meat of things, how often do you collect foreign foils?
As often as I can. I'm not as big on Japanese foils as most people are. I actually prefer Chinese foils to Japanese foils. I took your advice on them Death Mantle to realize they should be more expensive than they are and got a playset of Chinese foils for pretty cheap. But my favorite foil foreign language for Magic cards in general is Russian. I would have to say Russian, German, and Chinese are my favorite. So everyone else goes like crazy for Japanese foils. And yeah, I'd rather have a Japanese foil than an English foil most of the time. But it's Russian foils that I love. And as much as there is markup on Japanese foils, the markup on Russian foils is absurd. People just they normally charge way more than.
There's an issue with that, especially on eBay, and I'm sure you've noticed this. There's only a couple of vendors on eBay that regularly sell Russian foils, and they like to mark theirs up and write on them rarer than Japanese, and mark their non-foils, and they actually put non-foil in the description, so they always show up. Super frustrating. I hate those vendors on eBay. I will not buy Russian foils on eBay anymore because of the guys who are on there and what it's doing, and they mark up their stuff insanely. And if you look at the completed auctions, they never sell anything. I don't know how they keep the stuff going if every Russian foil they put out there after 30 days goes off because nobody bought it. It's like they're just rolling the lottery every time. They're like, I'm going to put this at 6 times what a Japanese foil is and hope for the best. Yeah. But Russian foils are cool. I obviously have a few in that Riz the Redeemed deck or Reese the Redeemed deck. But they're very, very difficult to find. And so the people that have them try to push whatever price is possible. And so, since you like them, and I obviously enjoy them, the best sources online for you, where do you normally go? Where's your go-to for foreign foils online?
Normally eBay or Star City Games, because I've noticed that Star City Games is the best vendor for having foreign foils, because a lot of the other vendors will have foils, but they're
I will have to cut you there. Not for your favorite language. I'm going to have to share with you my source.
Oh, no.
MTG Mint Card. Have you used them?
No.
They only have 2 languages, English and Chinese, and during pre-releases, they'll sell their Chinese foils for less than English foils.
Those are the people that I bought the Nim Death Mantles from on eBay. I've bought from them several times on eBay before I didn't know they had a site.
Yeah, and you can get better shipping and stuff on their site. They're great for Chinese foils. Their prices are good, and when there's an English price spike, they sometimes forget to update their Chinese price spikes. So even if you're not into Chinese cards, as long as you can like them, that is the place to go. Those guys are great for Chinese foils. Obviously, you're not going to get any other language but English and Chinese, but you'll get them on there, and so that's nice. I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah, for the pre-release for Avacyn Restored, there was Cathar's Crusade and Exquisite Blood, and I got about 20 foil Chinese of each of those for 25 cents a piece. So, good grabs, I will say.
Yeah, no kidding.
Those have gone up slightly. And over time, the Chinese ones won't hit the Japanese prices, but they'll still be there. So yeah, they are the go-to for Chinese foils. For Japanese foils, do you still go to Star City? Is that Star City and eBay? Are those the 2 places you normally go for that?
Yeah, normally.
Okay. The 2 really good places for that, one of them's a little harder to use, but you can still get through it, is Saito's site. If you all don't know, the pro Saito, who's now back playing again after his vacation, he runs an online shop and a cardboard shop, and he sells a bunch of Japanese foils, and if you contact him personally, he's really good about getting you Japanese foils. They don't sell as well where he is as they do online or overseas, so he's great about that. if you can catch them at a site, like I did in Worlds, I will say probably 30 cards from that Reese the Redeem deck came from Saito. So he's a really good source for that. The other guy who's an amazing source for that, and I will have to include a link to both of these so people can see, is have you ever heard of or seen him on my stream, which is Sonata Cards?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has pimp stuff. So you go to his Magic Card Market. Magic Card Market, if you guys don't know, is generally a place where people sell from individual user to another individual user. So it can be a little risky, but this guy has 100% evaluations. I've talked to him personally. He's very good at what he does. Perfect to deal with every time. He's very used to dealing with international shippers and international shipments. I've never had anything messed up. And, he's just good about everything there. You'll have to do a little bit of price conversion because I think things are listed in euros on that site because it's magiccardmarket.eu. But he is one of the ones willing to ship to the U.S., so that's great. Some of the stuff that I just recently got from him was like a foil Japanese Academy Rector and a foil Japanese Blood Gift Demon, so he is definitely one of the places that people should be going to. I think he's sold over 4,000 items on that site, so you're not talking about somebody who's just a regular Joe Schmo who happens to collect. This guy's actually running a shop. He's a good place to go for that. Are there any other secret places you can think of? I know that Troll and Toad is good, and we have to give a shout out to Troll and Toad because during, Giant Shark Gate, if people don't know, Troll and Toad sold us all of their giant sharks, all of them. That is where, what was it, like 900 came from?
Oh yeah, like the monopoly on the. We drove the price of giant sharks up 2 cents. I would like for you to know that.
Oh, 2 cents.
Checked.
That's good. Yeah, we're getting there. But yeah, and they actually negotiated with us because initially they were gonna say like, you got to pay full price on each one, and I'm like, really, you're gonna sell 1,000 giant sharks to somebody else? And they did great. They're the ones who put that whole font on there. They were good. They were good about it. And they do have some foreign cards. You have to be careful in searching on their site because when you go through the site, if you search a particular card and it like through Google and you go to their site, it's just going to bring you to the English one. You want to actually search it through their search engine and it'll show you all the languages it has. So it's always a good thing to do.
So I want to ask your opinion on foils that normally I know people hate, and that's French and Spanish foils. What's your opinion on those?
I don't really think of them as any more pimp than English unless it's the French delay, obviously, or like the Spanish Sarkin Vol. So Sarkin the Mad, right? Sarkin the Loco and Retard. Obviously, those two cards are pretty well known. For the most part, I like themed foreign language cards. So if you're going to go French or you're going to go Italian or you're going to go Spanish, go all out, or German or whatever. Just do your whole deck in that. Or even just do your whole deck European, Make it everything, all English characters, but no English in it. Which is great because people are going to try to read your cards and then be like, oh, that doesn't work, does it? So.
See, because I was hoping you had the hookup because I want a Spanish foil Numo the Devastator. I've been looking for one for a year and a half, actually.
Not even on eBay or anything?
Mm-mm. I have a saved eBay search for that. eBay has disappointed me. I had an easier time finding a Russian foil Wrath of God that I didn't buy because all the sellers wanted like $250 for it.
Yeah, that would be possible. I have a Russian non-foil Damnation. I was looking at the price of those online. I think they're like $55 right now. And that's a little much for what it is in my particular.
Yeah, I don't really like going out of my way to get foreign non-foil cards. I mean, if it falls in your lap, yeah, but I don't really see the point of paying that much for a foreign card if it's not foil. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think that's that pimp.
No, but I mean, I guess you'd be like Andy, and with his colorblindness, it makes it really hard to read. So, I don't know. But no, I'm with you on that. For foreign cards, if it's foreign and not foil, it might as well be English to me. I don't care. Unless it's really old.
Unless we're talking
okay.
like Korean wastelands or something.
Both of my wastelands are Japanese, so I can understand that. And I have a couple Korean mana vaults and things like that, like a Korean scroll rack. So when you're that old, it's all fine. Basically,
I just got Judge promos of those cards.
Yeah, I want to get some Judge promos too.
I love Judge promos.
Okay, well, that's a good one to go to. Judge promos, since we probably won't be talking for too much longer on this. Now, do you go straight to Judges, or do you actually buy these online?
I don't go to events very often, and I don't really know any Judges, so I just have to buy them online. Because, I mean, I go to events maybe twice a year, and one of those is probably going to be Star City Games Open, so I go to maybe one Grand Prix a year. So I don't really run into a lot of Judges. Don't normally have a lot of cash monies or trade value, so I kind of just have to wait until I can get one on eBay.
Oh man, that is the roughest. That is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Not all of us have the hookup and live in California where a lot of things happen.
Where all the judges live. I will say my recommendation is figure out who your local judges are that travel to events. Figure out what sort of beer or food or whatever they like, and smooch up to these people. You want to be friends with them. Judges are paid in these foils. That's really their compensation. And so one of the things that a lot of judges do is immediately after getting these is they try to turn around and sell them. A lot of them will just sell them to vendors at a cheap price. So if you go with them to the events and you can just beat the vendor's price, since that's what they're using to get money, that is the best way to get judge foils, is be friends with judges and be able to give them the money they need, since that's one of the reasons they work. Give them the money they need, give them a little bit better price than the store would give them, so they're still, getting everything they want out of it. And, go ahead, you help them out, and they help you out with these sweet, sweet foils. The other recommendation I would make for judge foils is never pick out judge foils when they first come out. You can go ahead and let the stores get them when they first hit. If anybody tried to buy a Mana Crypt from somebody when it first came out, it was $120 for the judge foil?
Oh no, yeah, I know, because I bought a Sword of Fire and Ice when it first came out because I just couldn't wait.
Yeah, and now it's the price of a regular non-foil.
I bought one for like $80. Oh, now I'm just kicking myself.
Yeah, exactly. You want to wait. You want to wait until the price drops, because they always will. Like, what's the newest one that's coming out? Is it Loyal? No, not Loyal Retainers.
Imperial Recruiter and Bribery.
Yeah, Imperial Recruiter and Bribery. And Imperial Recruiter is, I think they're saying that's going to sell for $200+ when it first comes out. Don't pay that. That's ridiculous. That's not where that's going to stay.
I really think it's going to drop that much, though, given Imperial Recruiters are so expensive anyway. That's one I've kind of been iffy about.
Check what Zhao Dun has dropped to.
Zhao Dun's like 20. The thing is, you can't really play him in Legacy.
Yeah, so it may... You know what? It may not drop to 0, but it's not going to stay up at 200. And they do this wax and wane thing where they drop down to a certain amount, so they'll steadily go down as more enter the market. And then when they stop being put in the judge packets, they'll start climbing back up. So you want to get them generally the event before they stop putting them in the judge packets, which is why you want to be friends with judges, because they know what's going to be in those packets before they go to the event. So definitely make friends with judges. Be nice to your judges. I'm sure there's other reasons, like being a human being, why you do want to do that. But for the cards, that it's very important. But as you said, Sword of Fire and Ice is a great example. Starting at 80, and I believe it's at 35 now. It'll go up over time, so it's not like you're going to really lose money. It just means you have to wait a long, long time for it. But I had a trade recently where I was trading for a Judge Foil Sword of Fire and Ice, and we ended up looking up the price on it, and I was like, oh man, it's at whatever it was, the 35 or price it was at. And he was like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, that's what a regular one is. He goes, I'm not sure if I can let go of that. I'm like, that's okay. When I saw what the price was, I bought one. That's what that smartphone did. As soon as I saw it was at $35. So
yeah, I learned my lesson after the sword. But the thing is, I just gotten my borderless Light and Shadow, and it was before I had added Feast and Famine to my deck. So I was like, oh, I have my set of swords finished. I can't wait.
Yeah, but you can always wait. That's the other thing with pimp stuff. If it's really cheap, don't wait at all. Never wait. If a card you like is in foil and you can get it for $5 or less, just get it. It's gonna go. If it goes down, whatever, it doesn't matter. But chances are it's gonna go up, and you're never gonna be able to see one again. That's happened to me too many times. Not that I haven't bought it, but I've been like, why didn't I buy 1,000 of those? Those are $50 now? That's ridiculous.
Then you'll be like, back in my day, we bought foil briberies for $10.
Yeah. Well, that was like I was thinking about it because for the Arkham Asylum, the first blog I wrote, I was actually tracking getting a fully pimped deck, which was my Arkham deck, and I remember buying foil Chinese or foil Japanese scarecrows on eBay, 4 foil foreign scarecrows for I think it was $6 total for the auction, and now each of those is 12 plus bucks. So you want to just jump on stuff. That's why the Nim Death Mantle won. Everyone hearing this, go buy your Nim Death Mantles in foil. Those are not going to stay at
TG
all.
Mint Card had another playset of Chinese foils on eBay for like $4.
Oh yeah,
I bought
they
one.
had more than one.
Just pointing that out.
I bought both of those.
I think my best story for buying stuff is I brought a Judge Primal Maze of Ith for like $35, and they're ridiculous now.
That was a good buy.
Yeah. No more Judge Foil Maze of Iths. Gonna buy from the vaults.
Well, all right. I think that's probably good for this. This will be our longest episode ever, but important stuff for anybody who likes to collect. If you want to go ahead and give your contact information.
Oh, you can email me, snapple.coffee@gmail.com, or hit me up on Twitter @snapplecoffee.
All right, sounds good.
There you go, winners. That was Sean. This is Chris signing off. If you have any questions for the man himself, email us at SeanIsRightIamWrong@gmail.com.